Here and now. Let's see how many people we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Commissioners so far? Yeah.
We are recording.
Yes, we are recording. Yep, we're live streaming and recording. So now we're just kind of waiting on
Good evening, everybody. My name is Robert Marshall. I am the chair of the Human Rights Commission. Today is Wednesday, April 8th, 2026, and you are tuning into the Salem Human Rights Commission meeting. Just to remind everybody, both in person in the audience and those joining us online, that our meetings are recorded and live streamed to YouTube, and the recordings are available to refer back to it. We'll go ahead and start with a quick round of introductions, and I will kick it off to Commissioner Roche.
Hello, Commissioner Jackie Roche. And passing on. Do you get an introduction or is it on?
No, I never get introduced.
Oh.
I'm fine. No. I'm Chris Snyder, the City of Salem staff liaison for the Salem, what is this, Human Rights Commission? One of the 4 commissions I serve on, staff liaison is. And turn the time over to Sergeant Dowd here in the office in the.
My name is Sergeant Robert Dowd. I oversee our personnel and training unit, and I'm the police department chief on here with the Human Rights Commission. And we'll pass to Celine on.
Celine Coleman, I'm one of the Human Rights Commission commissioners. I will pass it over to Tony.
Commissioner Tony Marys, and I will pass it over to Haley.
Haley Berenbaum, member of the City of Salem and former member of the Disability Task Force. And I'll pass it to Linnell.
Hi, my name is Linnell Wilcox, and I'm a fan of the Human Rights Commission for years. I'm also the program manager at Safe Sleep United Overnight Women's Shelter. And I also try to help with the annual belonging survey, taking it to the streets to get input from individuals experiencing homelessness. And I'll pass it to Counselor Dr. Brown.
Greetings, everyone. Dr. Brown here, Salem City Councilor. I'll just be in the background, just listening in and here for support, and I'll pass it over to Kat Andrews.
Good evening, everybody. Kat Andrews, just a member of the LGBTQ subcommittee, just here to listen and learn.
Thank you all for joining us today. I do want to just preface that we do have a rather short agenda, but we do have Professor Marianne Bradshaw's class from Western Oregon University will be joining us to talk more about the community belonging survey, but that class doesn't start till 7:30. So we'll see what time's looking like as we get there, but we might move some items around in the agenda or recess, but see what that looks like as the evening progresses. So we'll start with agenda item number 2. Any public comment received?
Let me take a look because there was something. I'll have to look it up. I thought there was, but I'll have to, can't remember anything right off the top of my head right now.
Any member remarks or announcements? Anybody have anything like to share? Commissioner Roche?
Yes, I went to a ribbon cutting on Friday. That was celebrating the expansion and remodel at Willamette Family Medical Center. And I just wanted to bring attention to the work that they do because they have, I cannot remember how many languages they have represented there, but they have translation for every single thing possible. They serve different families from my understanding, regardless of ability to pay. They just everything they've done and the two founders that started it, it's come such a long way. And I just wanted to thank them for the work that they do that is much needed with language barriers and different cultural barriers that they are able to still serve. So that's one thing I wanted to highlight. And then just one event coming up that coincides with Juneteenth, Garden Sip and Stroll. It's a big annual fundraiser for Garden Services, who employs adults who are people with intellectual development and physical disabilities. It's a really fun event. So if you're interested in learning more about that, contact Garden Services for the Sip and Stroll. I'm sure there'll be all sorts of fun things on Juneteenth. So I don't know what to announce about that, but they coincide on the same day. So it'll be lively downtown on that Friday evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Roche. Linnell?
Is this a time for public comment?
It is, yes.
Okay. I have just a couple of things. And I don't know if the Human Rights Commission is the right place to just bring up these thoughts, but maybe it's something you guys would consider. I know the city has done a safety and livability survey back in September and then again in February. And as far as I can tell, I can't see that any breakdown of reaching out to individuals experiencing homelessness. And I feel like that's extra important as our city is prioritizing safety and livability for all. And as individuals experiencing homelessness are often considered the reason for lower safety and livability. And, you know, we talk about businesses not reporting things because nothing happens. We don't always talk about how many individuals who are homeless are experiencing discrimination and targeted violence and don't report because, again, just like businesses, they don't know, would anything even happen, but they also don't often have cell phones. They might not have cell phone service and they're afraid of retaliation. So as we talk about underreporting, I think it's important to look at both sides of underreporting. And when we're often blaming individuals who are homeless as one of the main factors for not having good safety and livability, I feel like it's extremely important to include those individuals as an outreach, that we make sure we get their input about what safety and livability issues they're experiencing. And that could be positive. They might say things have improved since we've implemented the CLEAN team and increased the HST team. Or it might be negative because they're still experiencing targeted violence, but we just don't know if we don't include them in the outreach. So I feel like that's very important. And I also feel like I wish the city might consider a protocol of whenever there's a survey where we are going to outreach to individuals who are living in poverty, whether they're homeless or just living in poverty. I think it's so easy to forget that when you're living in poverty, you're not necessarily going to come home, sit at your dining room table and start looking at, oh, what surveys is the city asking us to complete online? You're living paycheck to paycheck. You're wondering what bills you're going to pay and what bills you're not going to pay. You're wondering, how you're going to get the kids ready for bed as you're working two jobs. And I feel like it's so important to, just like we talk about accessibility for people with disabilities, I feel like accessibility for people experiencing poverty, it really involves taking it to the streets because they might not have the time and luxury to sit at a table and see what surveys are being asked, and they might not have a cell phone, they might not have cell phone service. And if we don't take it to the individuals, then we're not really considering safety and livability for all when we do surveys about belonging, discrimination, or safety and livability status. So I wish we would consider something to consider accessibility with poverty as a highlight, not just the disabilities that are commonly accommodated. And then just a final note is, you know, the Homeless Alliance was working on a dignity lens years ago, and I don't know what happened to that. So I've asked them to see what happened, where it went, what we can do about it. But it is not illegal to photograph people who are living in public places. There's, if there's no expectation of privacy, it's not illegal to take pictures, but it's not cool. And would any of us want to have our photos taken when we're at our lowest moments in life? And from my perspective, which is definitely biased, if we're talking about trash, addiction, needles, whatever, we have the ability to talk about those topics without photographing an individual who's at their lowest time in life and putting that on the internet that is there forevermore. So I hope that even though something might not be illegal, where's the respect and dignity that we can offer to fellow human beings who are having rough times when it doesn't, not taking a picture like that doesn't compromise our ability to talk about whatever topics we need to talk about and ways to improve it. But we can come from a perspective of dignity and respect and not putting someone's pictures online at their low moments. We have that luxury in our homes. We could be falling apart, experiencing addiction, we could be passed out, but no one's taking our picture. And I feel like we owe that kind of dignity and respect to fellow human beings. Just because they don't have a home doesn't mean they don't deserve that. And we still have the means to talk about the important topics without doing that to other people. And I don't know if the HRC is in a position to recommend that, or if I mention this to City Council, I don't know the right avenue, but I feel like it's worth considering. Thank you.
I found the piece I was going to provide.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and those insights. And I want to thank you for your continued advocacy for individuals experiencing shelter homelessness and the compassion and humanity in which you do it. The whether you're able to be so fierce in your advocacy for that issue, but the stay composed in a way that gets the point across and wants people to listen and really kind of shifting that paradigm of maybe looking at it from a different lens is a truly powerful gift, Linnell, and I appreciate you continuously jumping on the Human Rights Commission and sharing that. You did mention wanting to share some you did mention talking about data and everything, underreporting, comfortable reporting to the San Police Department. I know we've talked with Sergeant Dow, our liaison, about that and data, and oftentimes it requires a lot of back end work in man hours. But while we do have Sergeant Dow here, I wanted to ask if it would be possible if there's certain metrics of like engagements that the HST tracks and the number of people they're working with and some of the thoughts and concerns they're hearing, and if that would be a report you might be able to bring back to the Human Rights Commission.
Yes, it's been a little over a year and a half since I supervised the HST team. But at the time I was supervising them, they did have a dashboard that they would enter information into about the number of contacts that they had each day and throughout the week, what resources were provided. I can check with Sergeant Wiedemann, who now oversees the HST team, and see if they're still using that dashboard, and if they are, if maybe you could generate a report for us so I can bring to next month's meeting.
Based on sorry, yeah, and if it's also easier for him to just attend a commission meeting, we also more than happy to have him in person, and he doesn't necessarily have a report, but he's happy to come just answer questions. We would welcome that as well. Chris.
Thank you so much for that extra detail. I really appreciate it. And I think I'm saying something a little bit different in addition to that. As we're talking about safety and livability for all, if we're not specifically asking individuals who are living in poverty and individuals who are homeless, we're not really getting data on how people, do they feel safe? Do they feel like the world is livable for them in Salem? Do they feel like they have a sense of belonging or discrimination? And if we're not actually, when we have surveys, if we're not targeting the individuals that we're often blaming, how do we really get data on that unless we take some surveys to the streets?
Okay.
Does anybody know if the surveys that they have done, those 2 surveys that the city did, is there any demographic questions they ask? So we have the ability somehow to track maybe the income level or housing status. And sometimes those questions are asked and I just didn't know. So that might be something perhaps we can ask them to have on if we do the survey 3rd time. Just a thought I had.
Yeah, I'm not sure what questions exactly are asked. Something to definitely look into. Chris, you mentioned you found that some of the other member remarks or public comments.
Public comment. So just for informational purposes, we received a email talking about the Salem Capital Pride event that's coming up, the Pride Parade and Block Party for Saturday, June 13th, 2026. Julie Hambucken, who's the secretary for Salem Capital Pride, sent an email out asking for any parade participants, such as individuals, groups, or group performers, dancers, bands, etc., or floats. If you'd like to participate in the parade, they're taking applications until April 30th, and they've provided a website or webpage for that information. I can forward that to the board as needed. And then I also got there's another email from the Oregon Pride group informing us about their Pride Parade that's coming up as well. Just a second. There it is. So this one says, hello, looking for a place to have our meeting and kickoff party for Oregon Pride March, Saturday, June 13th, 2026 from 11 a.m. at the Portland, Oregon downtown. Start location is going to be North Park Blocks. Looking for volunteers and sponsors. This event is for the whole state of Oregon to come together for one location to show we are united. So that was the information being provided on that.
Thank you. Do I have any follow-up questions or comments regarding those 2 events that Chris had mentioned?
If you want to send out at least the Salem one, I know some people who might be interested, I could pass on.
Sure. I will send that out to the board. Or to the commission, actually. Sorry.
Thank you. All right. Agenda 4, 4A bias crime update. Sergeant Dow.
Yes, since our last meeting, I have 3 incidents to report on. The first one occurred on March 13th in South Salem. It's a report of physical harassment based on race. In essence, it was a domestic disturbance where a drink was thrown on another person while a child was present. There were both parties that were involved reported racial slurs used by the other. Ultimately, nobody wanted anyone prosecuted. The incident was documented and resources were provided. Then on the 16th in Northeast Salem, there was another report of physical harassment based on race. This was at a care facility. where one of the residents was highly intoxicated and became aggressive towards staff, ultimately striking 2 staff members and throwing coffee and using racial slurs toward one employee in particular. No injuries occurred, and the victim in that incident declined prosecution. The incident was documented and cleared. And then the last incident was on the 19th of March in Northeast Salem. It was an issue of derogatory language used based on race. So this particular incident, somebody had allowed somebody else to sleep in their vehicle. And when the person who was sleeping in the vehicle was asked to leave, they began using racial slurs towards the people who was allowing their vehicle to be slept in. So that person called police. While we were en route, the perpetrator had walked away. We ultimately contacted the perpetrator, who continued to use racial slurs towards the officers that responded. And ultimately, in this incident as well, the original caller declined prosecution, and the incident was documented. So no arrests were made in any of the 3 incidents.
Thanks very much. Anyone have any questions for Sergeant Dowd regarding those incidences? Seeing none. Agenda item 4P, complaints of discrimination.
So we received 2 reports. One was a documentation basically of an arrest that took place during a protest downtown and towards the beginning of March. The person that was submitting the report just wanted to provide the information as to document the incident took place. The person was witnessing the arrest of a protester by Salem Police Department for disorderly conduct, supported by the report, and submitted the report of the incident to the Human Rights email for the purpose of creating a report of the incidents. The email was recorded and report is provided here, as well as to a copy to the Salem Police Department's Professional Standards Division for their review. They did provide a video of the arrest that took place. The other report was a person experiencing an eviction, had submitted a report of discrimination by their apartment manager. And while the city does not have the authorization to intervene directly in private landlord-tenant disputes or eviction proceedings, we provided additional information and sources such as Legal Aid Services of Oregon and the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency for their services.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris regarding those? There are no video project updates. Commissioner Larry Midkiff chairs the Disability Rights Task Force, and he's not here. I'm not receiving updates from him. We'll go ahead and start with some of the community belonging survey details. As I mentioned, Professor Bradshaw's class will be joining us in an hour. Unfortunately, just timing with the class and when the class coming meets to finish up on sooner. But this is a good time for us to really kind of chat as we filled this survey. What type of deployment strategies, where some places maybe you would like us to see us really targeting, getting the survey out? Are there, specific organizations we should be reaching out to ahead of time, letting them know this survey is coming? Then additionally, what questions do you want to see answered from the survey? I think it's always important to kind of go into these data gathering endeavors with questions or things that we're trying to look for. And so this really is an opportunity for us to collect some valuable information for individuals in our community and get this far and wide. So I just want to open the floor up for conversation on that.
What kind of questions do they ask on do you have any examples of questions that are currently asked, or just for discussion purposes? Better understand what audience we're looking for.
Chris, I believe that the professor shared them with us last
Last.
month's meeting. I don't know if I can't remember if she was just screen sharing or if they were sent to us.
And so I have a question from 2025 here. We asked participants their age, do you currently live or regularly spend time in Salem? We asked questions such as, how much do you agree or disagree with each of the following statements? When I'm out and about in Salem, I feel security in my authentic self. People of all identities are treated fairly and without discrimination. If I were in trouble in a public space in Salem, I think someone would help me. Overall, I feel a sense of community in Salem. What increases your sense of community in Salem? What decreases your sense of community in Salem? It asks about discrimination based on age, race, language, gender identity, sexual orientation, religion, mental disability, physical disability, weight or body type, marital status, income, housing status. In the past 12 months, how often do you witness or hear about others experiencing discrimination? In the past 12 months, in what places, or situations have you witnessed or heard about discrimination? Maybe ask additional questions about discrimination they've experienced and discrimination they've witnessed. Well, we're really not looking to add questions because adding questions this late in the game then would prolong our ability to get this into the field while we still have the availability of the students who take on a bulk of getting the survey into an online platform, getting it deployed, and then analyzing the data. It might just be helpful to just think when the students do jump on it, there are particular questions that we're hoping to have answers, the things that we might want them to pay particular close attention to, or specific groups or populations. We might want them to focus getting the survey to. I know in years past we've had an representation of people experiencing homelessness, and Linnell's helped us a great deal with that. But this is really just a opportunity for us to hear from our neighbors, and we just want to hear everyone's thoughts on the survey. Now we like that this year, Commissioner Roget.
Because I'm new to this, I was on, you guys did this last year, can you review with me the different areas that you guys do go to collect responses so that we can brainstorm additional areas that would be good? Is that what you're asking right there?
Yeah, so I know last year I'm trying to pull the information that Professor Bradshaw shared. I think there is Arches last year, mono. No, she shared a list of locations that we fielded the survey, and 4 people we reached out to.
There was, I've provided a small list of some ideas of places where she could, where the shares could go to. I'm not sure how appropriate or not for this particular survey it is. But the time frame between April 22nd and May 12th was the time frame that you're looking at. And I had provided a short list of family-friendly, free outdoor and city community supported locations, events. Number one is like the Oregon Ag Fest, which runs April 25th to the 26th out at the fairgrounds. It's usually free or low cost, family oriented and outdoors. Salem Saturday Market is another option. That there's a couple Saturdays, 3 Saturdays that fall in that time frame. Sheep to Shawl is an event that takes place at the Willamette Heritage Center on Saturday, May 2nd. It's a free event. It's family, educational, and cultural and outdoors. We've done surveys at that location in the past. West Salem High School has the Great Gatsby play that the high school students are doing. That's April 27th to May 1st. At the Riverfront Carousel, there is a Children's Mental Health Acceptance Day on May 9th. That's a free event. Hallie Ford Museum has a couple of gallery talks and educational programs happening on the 23rd and 28th of April that are free to the public and educational. Willamette University has some public events as well that are happening, free concerts and student performances open to the public on April 23rd and April 26th. There's always the Riverfront Park that has various activities happening throughout the weekends, most weekends, the Salem Public Library and Center 50 Plus were other locations or options. And I don't know how appropriate or not for this survey they are, but.
Commissioner
Sorry, yeah, I'm so good at this. So what is the primary demographic of the survey then? Because that will help us determine on where we go.
So the survey aims to gather the sense of belonging for all residents in Salem. So there's not any one particular population that the survey aims to focus on. It's really getting a pulse check of people's sense of belonging in the city, and then utilizing the results to understand, I think, if there's certain populations that are feeling particularly unsafe, or identifying things that do increase people's sense of community and belonging. And that's really what this survey aims to do.
Then we should make sure we have all the different protected classes, a couple of different events or targeted areas that those particular classes would be in, just to make sure we have a wide variety of the city. I don't know how to work.
I'm brand new too.
I think from what I gathered from last month's meeting is that the lion's share of the work is done by the students. And so the professor had indicated that she would create a sign up for students to sign up to attend some of these events, but they may get spread very thin very quickly. So she was hoping to try to encapsulate as much of the community as possible at a limited number of events, so they can focus their times.
Commissioner Celine Coleman has her hand raised.
Commissioner Coleman.
I don't know how many people are going to the Great Gatsby, but West Salem might be an option for most of the students, depending on where they live, just looking at the location of the college, compared to, say, something in like Northeast Salem, logistically, depending on the time and day that the event occurs. And then in regards to the different groups that have been targeted, I think one difficulty with the survey is that it isn't generalizable to the population in Salem, either because we're over surveying certain groups or under surveying others. Like, I don't think we really reach out to the college campuses or try to get like the younger demographics specifically. I think we do a good job with getting the unhoused population and Marshallese, but if we incorporated those efforts with others, I think we would have better results.
That's a good idea. I think that's something we can bring up to students is I like the idea of reaching out to college campuses, and I think that's one that we haven't really reached out to. I know in the past there's been comments and questions that the survey ending feels very that leaves one side, and we're just trying to get one person's voice, and want to know if anyone might have any thoughts or suggestions about how we might be able to get word about this survey out to the business community, you know, and seek their input, so that, you know, perhaps when the data does become available, people don't see this as we just targeted one or two populations, but that we were diversifying the pool of individuals we're reaching out to, and I wanted to see if anyone might have thoughts or suggestions for how we might be able to reach some of those other communities.
I'm in constant contact with the business community, so I'd be happy. I have a regular monthly email list. People get once a month email from me. It's about 100 or so it'd be fairly easy for me to just add that on and then ask them to share it with people they know who have businesses. So it's not just my direct circle of people. I also have other organizations like City Club where I could reach out to them and ask them, because that's a whole different population of people as well. Mix of retired and business owners. And there's other business organizations besides where I work at. Completely different groups of businesses as well. So I think we need to maybe come back with a couple of recommendations of different organizations that might be interested in pushing it out. And yes.
Yeah, really just getting the information out to me and all organizations would be.
I believe that we sent it out through the city's public information sites as well. Put it on the community connection email out and social media stuff, Facebook, etc. for the city. So we do push it out that way as well.
So quite a bit of time until Professor Bradshaw's class joined us. So I will open it up to another question, just more broad and generalized. And the Young Community Belonging Survey, when we look at the Human Rights Commission, what are the things that you got? What are the things that we want to do? What are the things that we want to accomplish as the Human Rights Commission? What recommendations do we potentially see ourselves making to council, or things we want to gather more information on so that we might be able to make those informed recommendations to council? I don't want to put Dr. Brown on the spot, but as a councilor, Dr. Brown, if you're comfortable, there are possibly things that you would like to see the HRC dig a little more into to potentially bring information in front of council. Beyond that, do any commissioners have any thoughts or ideas of things that they would like for us to really kind of research, or activities or projects that we'd like to take out as we look at how we spend our time in this coming year?
Not to interrupt, but Commissioner DeCarmo is now logged in, I believe. So we do now have a quorum.
Sorry, I was running late.
All right, thank you for joining us. Right. So again, I apologize for some of the timing. Professor Bradshaw's class will be jumping on at 7:30. We will recess until that time. But we hope that you'll engage with us again at 7:30 when Professor Bradshaw's class is able to jump on.
My alarm didn't go off. It's supposed to go off at 6.
All right. So we're back on.
Go for like last minute comment. Professor Bradshaw, are you with us?
I am here, yes.
Oh,
Hi,
yes.
Commissioner Marshall. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. This is part two. We ran out of we finished early, so we took a brief 45-minute recess, so we couple of commissioners jump back on.
Great.
And just out of curiosity, how many students are you expecting to be joining us virtually?
Well, we already have 2 students on. So Cody and Emerson, I see you guys in. Thanks for coming. I'm expecting probably about 10 this evening.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
I was nervous when I came in. I could see your mouth moving. I couldn't hear anything. And I was like, oh, what am I doing wrong on my Zoom? So I'm so glad I can hear you.
What was that you said you want close up? Was that?
Yes, great. Hello. What a lovely close up. Thank you. Zooming in on the star. Yep. And the smile. Good, good.
Before the retrofit, did we used to meet over there?
City man.
Used to be city manager's office, and before that, it used to be upstairs in the community development department back in the day. Because me and Gretchen were like fighting for meeting nights. Oh, here we got 3 more coming on. Oh, 2 more students and Counselor Commissioner Marys.
Great. Thanks everybody for joining. Great to see you all. The Human Rights Commission has actually finished their business, and so they're just taking a little moment break and as the students come in. So if you're coming on and you're like, I can't hear anything, it's because there's nothing to hear right now. We'll start in another minute or 2. And Commissioner Marshall, of course, you let us know when you're ready to start.
Start whenever you're ready, Professor Bradshaw, so you want to let us know when you have all your students. Get started.
Yep, well, I'm seeing students coming in, so that's great. But it's only 7:29, so we'll probably give them another minute or 2. Thank you.
Attendance is going up. Doubled.
Yep, we've got folks coming in. That's great. Thanks, everybody. Welcome.
Spotify, no. My mic's not on, but if it's picking it up, that's
Thank you for the soundtrack. Very excellent.
It's 7:31, so I'd say we go ahead and get started.
Sounds great.
Hi, my name is Robert Marshall. I have the unique privilege of serving as the chair for the Human Rights Commission. I served on the Human Rights Commission since I joined in 2023. I've been the chair since February, but previous to that, I was the vice chair. And I wanted to.
Is it all in the room?
Virtual.
The virtual room. Not seeing her listed. No, she's not.
Hold on, sorry about that. We were expecting another commissioner, but while they're figuring it out. I wanted to thank all of you guys for joining us. We've worked with Professor Bradshaw in this class in the past to fill the annual community belonging survey, and it's yielded some really great results for us.
She's outside. Oh, she's outside.
Sorry, there's just a lot of moving pieces happening in the room. But yeah, this is a really great opportunity for us to partner, and so we'll go ahead and kick it off with a round of introductions. We'll start with some of the commissioners. I believe Tony Marys is online, so I guess we'll just start with the online. There's people are still trying to sort of a few things that are in the room. So we'll just go ahead and kick over to Zoom for a round of introductions so we're not losing time. So Commissioner Marys, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Commissioner Tony Marys, thank you for coming and being here tonight. I'll kick it off to Marianne.
Sure, great. Hi, everybody. Great to be able to attend this Human Rights Commission meeting this evening. Thanks to the students for joining and also to the commissioners for having us. Really looking forward tonight to having some introductions. First of all, the people, but then introductions also just of the Human Rights Commission. And commissioners, I think it's really helpful for the students as you introduce yourselves, if you don't mind sharing. This is a volunteer position. You are giving a lot of time, effort, and energy to participate. So Commissioner Marys, if you don't mind, I'll go back to you. And commissioners, as you introduce yourselves, if you don't mind sharing just the snippet of why you decided to volunteer and be on the HRC.
Well, thank you. So I am a person with lived homelessness experience, and I am a disabled person, and I started on the Disability Rights Task Force, and then I applied to be on the commission, and I've been on the commission since September. Thank you.
That's awesome. And then if we have another commissioner go next, does that work, Robert?
Yes, they're all good. So we'll go ahead and start. Get back here for introduction person, Commissioner Coleman.
Hi, Celine Coleman. I'm one of the commissioners and I'm doing the HRC. As a person that's experienced a lot of bias in Salem and also try to advocate for those that don't know the channels to go through, especially when they experience different biases in Salem.
Thank you. Commissioner Roche.
Hi, I'm Commissioner Jackie Roche. I have a history of 10 years of being married to a military spouse and then a single mom. And then years of struggling with addiction, of which I'm 2 years sober of alcohol. And so I have a lot of variety of life experience that has given me different perspectives, and I really enjoy learning about all the other perspectives. And so being on this allows me to understand more of what other people have gone through.
Thank you. Chris, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Chris Snyder. I'm the city staff liaison for the Human Rights Commission, and I've been with the city for 15 years. And I've served with the Culture and Tourism Promotion Advisory Board, as well as Salem Public Art Commission, and also the Community Police Review Board.
Sorry, now you mind.
Well, my name is Robert Dow. I'm starting with the Salem Police Department. I run our personal training unit, and I'm liaison here for the Human Rights Commission, and I've served in this capacity since 2023.
Thank you. Marianne, that concludes the commission and staff. So if you want to go ahead and get over to students to introduce themselves.
Great. Before we go to the students, I think you've got some other advocates on, and it'd be great to hear from them as well.
Yeah, okay. I see one now. Mel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Linnell, do you mind introducing yourself?
I couldn't quite hear that. My name is Linnell Wilcox, and I'm a fan of the HRC. I'm the program manager at Safe Sleep United, which is an overnight low barrier women's shelter. And I usually try to get involved in the annual belonging survey to take it to the streets so that we also get input from people experiencing homelessness, since they're not likely to just be sitting at their dining room table and think, oh, I'll do an online survey. And this survey in particular means a lot to me because the questions and the analysis and the presentations to City Council have been summarized so well that this group has made recommendations based on the input that's received, and there's been so much input out through the years about the discrimination and targeted violence that people with homelessness are experiencing, that this committee recommended and the city council approved making housing status a protected class. So I feel like when we're taking this survey to the streets in particular, we can say this is not just for checking a box that we did a survey. This is a survey that is shared annually, looked forward to, summarized with all kinds of different breakdowns, and recommendations come as a result of this survey and they get acted on. So I feel like this is one that I really try to invest my time in to be able to share with people, not just the belonging survey itself, but the results that have happened as a result of this survey, so that maybe people can feel like their words and their input really does matter.
And thank you, Linnell, for the time, effort, and energy you bring to this project. Also online, Haley Berenbaum and Diane DeCarmo are not students, so if you guys don't mind introducing yourselves as well, and then we'll go to the students.
Hi, I'm Haley Berenbaum. I'm a former member of the Disability Rights Task Force, as well as I work for a labor union here in Salem that mainly represents food processing workers. So big advocate for those people. And yeah, I love to know what's going on.
Thanks, Haley. So glad you're here. Diane, do you mind unmuting and introducing yourself? And then Eastridge.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm having problems with my camera, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I'm fairly new to this, being a part of the Human Rights Commission. And I wanted to be a part of this because I have seen my granddaughter, who is autistic, be picked on and having some of her rights just ignored. And then my daughter, who is in a same-sex marriage, bought a house, and their house was egged many times because of that. And so I thought this would be a really good place to try to make changes in Salem so those type of things don't happen anymore.
Thank you for your advocacy. Sorry, my dog decided he has something to say. Eastridge, could I ask you to unmute and introduce yourself?
Hi, Professor Bradshaw. It's Rochelle. I actually just don't know how to change my name on Zoom. I'm one of the.
Sorry, Rochelle, I did not connect your first name and your last name. So yay, our first student has introduced herself. Rochelle, thanks for being here. Sorry about the noisy dog. I've kicked him out, so hopefully now we'll have a little peace. I've got a great team of students here and would like to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves. As I do that, I'll just, commissioners, let you know that their assignment for this week was to do kind of a literature review and find research studies that have been conducted in the past that are relevant to this project. And I got to read through all their summaries today, and I'm like, it's brilliant. We have such a fabulous collection of people and perspectives and energy and researchers. So I'm just so excited to be working with this group of students, and just their very first assignment, digging in and learning and looking at data. So it's going to be great. So I'm going to just kind of queue up students. Rochelle already introduced herself. If you guys just would each unmute, share your name, your pronouns, and say hello. And we're going to kind of go pretty quick, but if there's something else you want to chime in, that's fine. And Andres, I'll have you go first, then TJ with Cody on deck.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andres Hernandez, pronouns are he, him, his in English, and él in español. And I just want to say thank you for all you all do. And I hope you take care of yourself and your mental health and enjoy the sun when we have it.
Hello, my name's TJ Geisey. My pronouns are he, him. I lived in the Salem area for quite a bit, and I'm kind of bouncing around now, so I'm not in state currently, but I'm excited to still help out, and I have a lot of friends and loved ones in Salem and people who are, you know, in groups that are marginalized or having, you know, their rights glossed over. So I think this is really important, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Thank you. So as Cody unmutes, I'll just give Emerson and then Sonali the heads up. You guys will be next. Cody?
Hello, everyone. My name is Cody Harwood. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a grad student at Western, and I'm really excited to be here and help with this survey. Again, I'm just really excited to be here, and thank you guys for volunteering your time.
Hey, I'm Emerson Price, and I am also a grad student. I'm eager to learn as much as I can and contribute what I can.
Thanks. And as Sonali unmutes, Jessica and then Geraldi, sorry, you guys are next.
All right, my name is Sonali Salgado. I am a student at Western. I'm in the graduate program for organizational leadership. I am looking forward to see what this term brings up. This is a class that somehow the first class we had I found really interesting. So I was like, okay, I think I need to stay in this class. I need to figure this out. So thank you for being here with us today.
Hi, my name is Jessica Cruz. My pronouns are she, her, ellas. And I'm really excited about this project and helping out, do whatever I can in my part. And I'm just really thankful for all you guys do.
And then Geraldi, as you unmute, I'll give Fernando and Michelle heads up that they're next.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Geraldi Badia Cruz. My pronouns are he, him, él. I'm also no longer in the Salem area, but spent around 5 years there. And I got to work a little bit in the school district. So I'm excited to do this project just to kind of give back to that community that I was part of for a short time.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Fernando Fernandez. Pronouns are he, him. I just want to thank you. I'm very excited to contribute to this project. I myself am a disabled Latino Marine, so it hits close to home. Very excited about the work you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then Michelle, and we'll wrap up with Crystal.
Perfect. Hi, my name is Michelle Drebin. I am just south of Salem, down in North Corvallis. Pronouns are she, her, and I just wanted to thank y'all for letting us be a part of this.
Hi, my name is Crystal. I currently live in Independence, and I currently work at Western, but spent like 15 years in nonprofit work in California. So I'm really excited to support your work.
Thank you. Such a great group. So happy that we're all on this evening together. Appreciate the opportunity to do the introductions. Commissioner Marshall, I wonder if there's one of you on the HRC that could give us a little bit of an introduction of the group and just share like the purpose of the Human Rights Commission, the activities, just kind of help us understand what you all do.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Bradshaw, and thank you to all the students for joining us and for taking this class in particular. As Lynelle pointed out, one of our advocates that works with population experiencing homelessness, she finds this survey to be very beneficial to the work that she does, and she's one of a lot of community partner organizations that we work with as an HRC and advocates who utilize this data to shape the work that they do. So the work that you guys will be putting into the survey, I think, isn't just for the Human Rights Commission, but it is information that is used by community leaders throughout Salem and the surrounding areas. So the impact of the work and is going to stretch far and wide, well beyond this. Just kind of give a brief overview of the Salem Human Rights Commission. It's an advisory body that works to promote equity, address discrimination, and strengthen a sense of community belonging across our community. We support residents by helping navigate concerns, elevating community voice, and advising City Council on policies that advance human rights. A key part of our work is the annual Community Belonging Survey. This survey, conducted in partnership with students from this class, and we utilize that data to inform local decisions. For example, findings help support the city's 2022 ordinance adding housing status as a protected class. And while we address a wide range of human rights issues, housing and homelessness consistently been a central focus. Other commissions work. And in addition to just the work of the main body, we've tackle the issues surrounding disability rights with a disability rights task force that was convened to address how individuals with disabilities navigate Salem and the challenges that they face, to gather information on what recommendations we can make to council there. And then we also have a LGBTQI plus committee, which focuses on the rights of that community. We hosted an annual Transgender Day of Remembrance event to honor the memory of transgender individuals that have lost their lives throughout a year-long process. And Professor Bradshaw asked what information that we're really looking to gather this year. And well, the survey aims to gather an overall sense of belonging for everybody in the city of Salem. And this is really an important. We find ourselves in just really very tumultuous time as both as a community and as a nation, and everybody. We know there are certain populations and everything that may have felt like they belonged last year, or the years before, but maybe don't necessarily feel like they belong this year. And so as we look at the survey, is being able to compare it to the years past and really see, are we making progress as a city and making this a welcoming community, or are we falling behind in our promise to make sure that everyone can work, recreate, and live in the city of Salem comfortably. But then also continue to look at issues surrounding poverty and homelessness, and how can we utilize this data both as a body, but then as a community to use the information that we gather from that to continue fighting against the indignity, inhumanity, and injustice that people experience based on their housing status, based on their race, based on their religion, their sexual orientation, their gender identity. And other than that, that's really the purpose of the survey. And we appreciate that Professor Bradshaw is willing to put the muscle of Western Oregon University behind this, because we're all volunteers that serve on this commission. And so having a class at a university that's right in our neighborhood, that's a neighbor to Salem, wanting to help us with this is huge. And we couldn't do this. We couldn't have advocated in 2022 for housing status to be a protected class in city ordinance without the data of the survey and without the direct impact of the students. So thank you all so much for taking this class and your engagement, and we look forward to working with you on this project.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Marshall. That's a really helpful overview and introduction to the purpose of the Human Rights Commission and how the class project has been useful to you in past years. I do want to invite the students to take this opportunity. If you have questions regarding the Human Rights Commission, if you wanted to ask anything additional about the purpose of the organization, about activities, about current big questions, or Commissioner Marshall talked about advising City Council if there's things that maybe they are seeing rising to the top as high priorities for City Council, as well as questions. You did have the opportunity to read past summaries from classes in the previous 2 years, so perhaps you have a question regarding the specifics of the project for this year. So I would welcome questions from students that might help us inform the project for this year.
Sorry, it's kind of hard to come up with a question. I do have several. Again, this is Donali Salgado, and my question is, When you are selecting the dates and times of when you conduct this activity for the surveys, how do we address people that aren't able to make it to these events to be able to participate in these surveys? And I'm not talking about us as students because we will try to make do with what we see available, but the population in general that are going to take these surveys, like how do we make sure we have a good representation of people that can take this survey?
I would be happy to address that first and then invite any commissioners or Linnell if you guys would like to chime in. The question of how to invite people to do the survey and we want people from all walks of life to complete it. And to be honest, the more people that do it from the more diverse situations and backgrounds and contexts, the better. With a survey, one of the ethical guidelines is that it must be voluntary. And so we put out the invitation, do the survey, here it is, here's why it matters. And we try to make it so, takes only not half an hour, but maybe 5 minutes to do. But that invitation goes out. And the Human Rights Commission is such a fantastic partner to our class in getting that invitation out. So the City of Salem Communications Department helps us by putting it on their Facebook page, both the City of Salem Facebook page in English and La Ciudad de Salem Facebook page in Spanish. And they do a really great job helping create an image and get that out. We also are looking for events and opportunities. Sonali, you read a really great paper, or somebody did, emphasizing like older and younger. And, as Linnell mentioned, not everybody's sitting at their dining room table waiting to do a survey. And so looking for opportunities to go in situations where people might be open to doing the survey. Linnell's done such a great job helping me and students go out to talk to folks currently experiencing homelessness, hear their experiences, walk them through the survey, and give them the opportunity because, just posting it on Facebook wouldn't accomplish what we're trying to do. And so it really is a partnership with the commission and the connections that you have as a body to some of our really fabulous nonprofit and community-based organizations locally, and the students where everybody's doing outreach to invite people to participate. And Sonali, we're going to talk as a class about how we build that, but the commissioners are a huge part of it. Linnell, do you want to add around kind of doing outreach to people experiencing homelessness? Oh, you're muted.
Sure. I think I kind of touched on it, just the fact that people living in poverty might be living from paycheck to paycheck, helping their kids do homework in the evening, working 2 or 3 jobs, trying to figure out which bills they can pay and what they have to delay paying. So they just don't have the opportunity to sit in their living room or dining room table and say, oh, the city's doing a survey. So I feel like it's extra important to take it to the streets when we have individuals and populations that are not going to be likely to find it online, if they even have the technology, if they even have a cell phone, if they even have a cell phone that's charged, because if you're homeless, where do you charge your phone? But I'm extra invested this year because the city has a high priority project of safety and livability in Salem and how to increase that. And intentionally or not, a lot of the perceptions about lack of safety and lack of livability are often associated with people who are homeless and, the trash, the addiction, the struggles that people are experiencing. So I feel like when we have a project that is safety and livability for all, and, if we really mean all, how do we also include the individuals that are often blamed for the lack of safety and livability? And we have increased a clean team, we have increased homeless services outreach, and maybe the individuals who are homeless are feeling like things are safer and more livable, and maybe they're not. But because this is a high priority for our city, and because we've made some changes that are supposed to be good for the public and businesses, how is that playing out for the individuals we're serving? And I say we are serving because I work in homeless services. But hoping that things are getting more safe and livable for the individuals we're serving. But how do we know unless we actually do that outreach? And also really wishing that the city and any survey that they do includes the people that are often blamed for lack of safety and livability. So how do we, have so many negative perceptions and associated blame, for lack of a better word? And so many people say they won't report discrimination and violence because nothing ever happens. Well, the individuals we're serving who are experiencing homelessness have even more times of not reporting because they also feel like nothing's going to change, but they also might not have a cell phone. They might not have a cell phone that's charged. They might fear retaliation. So, the concept that people aren't reporting is all around true. And if we're only hearing that, the general public and businesses aren't reporting everything that happens, neither are the individuals who are homeless. So I feel like it's extra important, since they're often being blamed for the lack of safety and livability, how do we get their input? So with the city currently focusing on increasing safety and livability for all, extra invested this year, even more than usual. So I want to, and there's also been more sweeps. Sweeps are happening more assertively. So are we, and Safe Sleep, just so you know, we get phone calls from the REACH team, from police officers, from other partners who do outreach, like, do you have a bed? We were getting 25 calls a week of individuals who are over 60 who are looking for beds. And we're having more and more people who are over 60 becoming homeless for the first time ever, because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, and in this economy, many, many people are, one expensive car repair or a health issue or a partner dying or job loss or sick and not being able to earn your full paycheck because you're out sick for a few days, that can make or break many individuals. And we're having more women and men becoming homeless for the first time because you just can't make ends meet when any little crisis comes up and you're living paycheck to paycheck. So I'm extra invested this year because we want safety and livability for all. And I hope that's for real and not just lip service. And taking it to the streets kind of helps us know.
Thanks so much, Linnell. Any other commissioner or advocate want to add and to Sonali's question around how do we get the survey out and get that invitation out beyond just like the low-hanging fruit of, oh, I saw that on Facebook, I'm going to do it? Or anyone else want to comment on a population that they would like the students to especially prioritize in the invitations and outreach?
I will add a few things. In addition to social media, a lot of us work in various fields here in the Salem area, and all of us share the link and the information on the survey within our own professional networks. Then, expand out there as they continue to tell their networks. So it's shared that way. When we look at populations, City Council has received a lot of testimony from individuals living from immigrant communities or associated with immigrant communities, just about the fears that they're experiencing. While we don't allow youth to participate in this survey in particular, there's a lot of fear amongst the younger population within those immigrant communities, and their parents' safety and the safety of their older relatives. And as we look at populations beyond people experiencing homelessness and wanting to kind of get our fingers on the pulse of some of those, is that population particularly, how is their sense of belonging changed in the last year or so in Salem, and then utilizing that data to see what kind of recommendations we can make to the city of Salem to make those communities feel safer, or to feel that they belong, or the things that we can do on a citywide level, at a policy level, to to increase that safety and sense of belonging.
Thank you so much. Another question from a student. And while they are thinking, I am so pleased that we have a liaison to the commission from our Salem Police Department. We have included a question specifically about the police department in the past around comfort in reporting a bias crime. And I wonder if I could ask you to comment if our officer is still there and available on the survey, and the willingness of the police department to have that question in the survey, and if it's useful to you.
Yes, 100%. We want to participate. We want to include the questions as they've been stated in the past. And I just got a text message back that we will also share the survey on the police department's social media pages to increase participation in people taking the survey. So we do value the feedback, and we want to know how we can continue to build bridges and cover gaps in how we're serving the community as a whole.
Awesome. Thank you. I have done surveys for a lot of years, and I have been in meetings like this before we kick off a survey with organizations where we say, hey, do we ask this question? Do we ask that? If it comes back this way, what do you do? And sometimes people look at each other and they're like, actually, we don't want to know that. Like, we don't want to see some of those things. And I have been so grateful to partner with Human Rights Commission, partner with the Salem Police Department, who's saying, no, ask the question. Like, we want to know if there's populations where we need to do better. We want to see the data. We'll help get the survey out. So the first year Gretchen was like, hey, we've been talking to our liaison. We want to add a question like this. I was like, really? Are you sure? Are they sure? And to have, around the table, this group and you folks in your organization saying, ask the question, we want the data, we want to know, we want to do better where we can, we want to see our strengths and where we can improve. I just think it reflects such a positive culture of transparency and wanting to improve. So I think that's fantastic. Students, anyone with a question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Great, we'll
This
do
is
Crystal and then Andres. Go ahead, Crystal.
Awesome. I'm curious to hear just kind of thoughts around choosing belonging as the strategy to understand and kind of get under the hood of feelings that people are feeling in the Salem area. And I don't know if this is articulating it clearly, but I'm wondering if does the commission work with other groups to understand kind of this issue on a deeper level? So thinking about systemic issues, I was reading a couple of different studies over the past week, and it looks like people experience a lot of discrimination. And just wondering if the commission is connected to other like race-based or other types of programs to do this work together. And then speaking of like, making sure that this is not just lip service or more information that we're just banking. What exactly are there resources that will be put towards things that come up in the survey or results that come up that can further kind of show and display impact of this strategy? Just curious about that. I know it's a lot of different stuff.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah, those are a lot of really good questions. To acknowledge the first one, how do we partner with organizations? As I mentioned, a lot of the commissioners are connected within their own professional circles. In bringing those partnerships, we've hosted in the past a town hall where we've convened homeless services providers to talk about the challenges the challenges that they see when interacting with people experiencing homelessness. We made it a priority to engage when these surveys come up, to show the opportunities with culturally responsive and culturally specific population serving organizations. And then also making sure that we're sharing this data once it comes out, so it's not sitting on the shelf. We've heard from Linnell on how she utilizes the information from this survey, not beyond just what the Human Rights Commission uses it for, but really looking into that data to see how she can shape her services at Safe Sleep and how she responds to the housing and homeless crisis as an advocate. And I do want to open it up to some of our commissioners here and how they've utilized the survey in the past to engage other organizations and to share the information about it, the results, and to make change or strategies they might have this year for making sure that we are engaging those individuals. Go ahead, Commissioner Coleman.
So Jackie is our social media guru. She probably knows a lot of the business people, regardless of like the race, background, type of business. Jackie probably knows someone who knows someone. That's just Jackie's world. I usually, when we start having meetings with Professor Bradshaw, we'll send a text message to certain groups, hey, the community belonging survey is coming. It's not ready yet, but be prepared. Just to get them either excited, asking questions about it, or so that they know it's coming and that they'll take it. I think a lot of us, I'm speaking for the three of us here, and Commissioner Maris and Carmo. There's probably some overlap just because of the size of Salem with the people we do know, but there's also different groups of people we know. So I think we do a pretty good job. And then for say like LGBT, we rely probably heavily on that committee to reach out to those populations. And Linnell for places like Safe Sleep, as well as the other shelters she's connected to. I feel like Linnell knows all the people in the unhoused sphere too, as well as Commissioner Marshall.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman. Does anyone have anything you'd like to add to that question?
Commissioner Roche, I can share with my circles and have them share with us.
Thank you. There's nothing else for this, we can address the next question, Mary Ann.
Linnell, I thought I saw your hand, and I wonder if you wanted to speak to the connection between discrimination and belonging.
Sure. Initially, this survey was called the Annual Discrimination Survey. And in my own personal life, I was finding that people in my life who are white males, white females, were not even wanting to do the survey because they felt like, well, it's a discrimination survey and I don't experience any. And the whole point is to identify overall, are some people experiencing a sense of belonging or discrimination? And when we called it the discrimination survey, too many people were feeling like, well, that doesn't apply to me. So there was a purposeful shift to call it a belonging survey, because anybody can feel like, well, yeah, I feel like I belong. I guess I'll tell the survey people that. But when it was discrimination, it's like, well, I don't experience any, so people weren't doing it. So then you're only getting input from people who either feel okay, like I'll fill it out even though I don't experience any discrimination, or you're only getting the input from the people who are feeling marginalized, and that's not going to be a good, bigger picture. So the goal is to have everyone who is willing to do the survey do it, focusing on some marginalized populations just because they might not see the opportunity as easily as individuals who are not marginalized and not living in poverty. And I think it's been more effective. I mean, I know more people in my personal life that are willing to do it now that it's called a belonging survey than, I mean, I was even having to convince my husband, like, so I get you're not experiencing any discrimination. How lucky for you. Will you fill out the survey anyway? So that was my impression of why the name was changed. And then as far as like outreach and everything, I think everyone's already addressed the aspect that we all have different circles and we're sharing it within our different circles. And I also end up bringing it up at city council meetings and various topics, even when it's not the time for the survey. Just keeping it in the public eye that we have this tool that we use every year to assess how are we doing as far as inclusion, belonging, a sense of community, and keeping it out there. There's also, besides the regular circles that we each are in, there's a monthly meeting at the Salem Police Station usually. There's over 70 different partners that attend at different times. There's not going to be 70 all at once necessarily, but they have an email list and a monthly meeting, and many of us go as often as we can. So that's a pretty big circle. So I think between everybody having different circles we travel in and sharing it, and then also having the ongoing, city and county and other meetings and talking about it along the way. And I think the Human Rights Commission also has like a list of different groups they always share it with. So that's sent via email, I assume, each year. So I feel like the outreach is pretty good and we can always do better. And especially, I really like the idea of also trying to get data from individuals who might be afraid of their immigration status and ICE and all of that that's happening, because I can't even imagine. I'm so privileged that I can't even imagine that. And we need to hear from those individuals and see what else we can do. So that's all.
Yeah. Thank you. Very helpful. Andres, you have a question?
Yeah, there's been a bit of an answer, but I wanted to ask it anyways. So specifically for the Human Rights Commission and for the survey, a two-parter. What barriers have you seen in completing the work that you do as the Human Rights Commission? And then also, what barriers, if any, have you noticed in individuals completing the survey?
Barriers?
So barriers to completing the survey, I think Linnell's hit on this quite a bit, is, previously when it was, called a discrimination survey, as people not wanting to complete the survey because they feel, well, I haven't been discriminated against, why would I do a discrimination survey? I also think too, barriers to even with the title of belonging is, the education aspect and everything of, why this data is so important, and why just sharing your experiences with others can help shape policy, even though you might not necessarily see it, in your day-to-day life, that information does matter when it's, pooled together with everyone else's experiences. It allows us to see that people might oftentimes think, well, I'm experiencing this, but no one else is experiencing this. But when you're able to put it in a pool of other people, you can see, oh, hey, this is an issue. This is a trend. This is something worth analyzing. As you mentioned before, prior to 2022, housing status wasn't a protected class in city ordinance. But as we saw that people were discriminated time and time again based off their housing status, and utilizing results from the survey, and in addition to just other conversations, we're able to enact that ordinance. We've been able to make a lot of headway in just our community's response to the housing crisis. Other barriers to completing the survey, I think, as Linnell mentioned, is people experiencing poverty aren't rushing home to think, what survey am I filling out today? They're rushing home to figure out what bills are going to get paid this month, what bills aren't going to get paid. Then To answer the other question in challenges to making recommendations to council based off the community belonging survey, I would say one of the challenges is that there's a lot of questions that are asked on the survey, and human rights is such a broad topic, and it's just such a broad issue that, you know, it's how do you prioritize which population you want to advocate for the hardest at, you know, a council level, without also making it sound like other populations are, you know, taking a back seat. Like, how do we ensure that everybody is getting that same level of voice and advocacy, and how are we prioritizing the needs based off of the population when everyone deserves human rights? Like, everyone deserves to feel welcome, everyone deserves to be safe, seen, and to feel like they belong. And so, let's say in terms of challenges, that's probably the largest challenge that we face as a body is who do we advocate for in those moments and in those spaces. But now, yes, on that.
I would totally echo that. And I think one of the barriers that I never expected and learned on the very first survey year was, as we're taking the survey to the streets, we're literally taking it to the streets, parking lots, sidewalks, parks. I knew that people honk and yell insults at individuals who are homeless. What I didn't know is how much, how often. The very first year, the very first day, we're taking it to the streets, and cars are honking, yelling, you know, get an effing job, and, you know, just really bad insults, so loud, and revving their engines as they walk, you know, drive by, that I could, and many individuals that we serve don't read well, and I did not know that. So I'm reading the survey out loud to individuals as cars are honking, yelling insults, revving their engines. You couldn't even think. And I'm thinking these individuals are living with this all day, every day. And some of them were telling me they don't experience any discrimination as this is happening, which really opened my eyes to, you know, when something happens constantly, it becomes your normal and doesn't even seem like discrimination. And I couldn't even think, as all of that noise and revving and insults and honking is happening right there as we're taking the survey to the streets. And I still get teary thinking about that, but that's how individuals are often living every single day. And how do you sustain a sense of self through all of that? And I don't even know. We have warriors living among us.
Yep. It reminds me, Linnell, one of the years we first added the belonging question, and I was standing in the Arches parking lot, Commissioner Marshall, talking to somebody about a feeling of belonging, and they got a little emotional telling me, they're like, I do belong here. I was born here. I've lived here my whole life, but they didn't feel like the community accepted them. And it was a really challenging question for them to answer, because I felt like even as I asked it, they got defensive, like, I do belong here. And so then did they say, I feel like I belong because I know that I do, but I feel like I don't belong because I know the community doesn't accept me. And so it's been this really tricky, like, how do we word a question so that we get at that sense of belonging, that as people respond to that question, they kind of mean the same thing. Like, what does it mean to feel belonging to the community, like to Salem in general, to your neighborhood, so I do feel like, you know, and students will talk more about some of the challenges and the barriers. But it's Commissioner Marshall, when you talked about, like, human rights is so broad, it's a broad topic, it includes a lot of things. And it also uses terminology that, you know, bias crime or discrimination or belonging, like, there are things that we're talking about that really could mean different things to different people. So trying to understand how to frame a survey that Linnell can stand on a street corner and talk to somebody about and not have a 30-minute conversation and have meaningful responses. So it is a big challenge, which I think is part of what makes it exciting. Okay, so commissioners, we know you guys have been meeting since 6 p.m. If there's a student with a burning question as we wrap up, I would be willing to entertain one more, but I will just summarize that we are so excited and the students are going to be working on the questionnaire. Commissioners actually had the opportunity. I came to a previous meeting and we talked about the questionnaire from last year. Some of the questions we know we aren't going to change. Students will talk about some of the questions where they are looking for some input and refinement. So we're going to be working kind of fast and furiously on that as a group so that we can be ready to be in field April 23rd. So we have class on Wednesday nights. So we have tonight. Next week's the 15th, but then class on the 22nd. We'll make some final decisions so we can send you a link. So if you're starting to text your professional network or starting to figure out, okay, this is coming, it will be in field the 23rd until May 12th. So we as a class will talk about how we can help get that invitation out. And commissioners, we so appreciate your assistance. As a body, you just have such great relationships with nonprofits and asking them to get the invitation out and working with the City of Salem Communications Department, definitely counting on that partnership as we get the invitation out. Anyone with a final burning question before we conclude this part of class?
We had, is it okay if we email in a question if we have thoughts on something that could be added to the survey? Linnell brought something good up that we chatted about. And then I have a question about the HST and the REACH team, because I think that would be really good information to ask about in the survey, so we can bring back something practical that was implemented this year. So should I email the question over so you guys can deliberate?
That would be amazing. Yep, if you could email that to me, I'll bring it to the students. Thank you.
Anything else from the commissioners? It looks like there's one question from another student. State it.
And I do have a hand here from Fernando.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I did have that burning question. So I was kind of thinking a bit about what you were saying about balancing these different groups, right? And the kind of the negotiation between the resources. And I was just kind of wondering, right, rather than continuing to address discrimination group by group, which can kind of pit, community needs against each other and still leaves those kind of underlying discriminatory conditions intact, would the city consider formally declaring discrimination more of a public health issue? That way, a declaration like that could be kind of backed by a little bit more dedicated funding and could shift it, right, from more of an individual group need, right? Because I think we're giving too much credit to how discrimination works, right? I don't think they're sitting there going group by group. It's so I was just thinking, are we at all in the goal considering redesigning the systems that produce harm across all of them, right? Other cities have done this successfully. So I'm wondering if the question is whether Salem is willing to make that same structural commitment.
Any commissioner with an opinion? Would Salem consider discrimination an issue of public health?
It's the year of safety and livability, and we have a Harvard Bloomberg project that is designed specifically to try to find ways to increase safety and livability in Salem. So if any of the analysis of the data leads anyone to think that might help improve safety and livability, we're in a position now where supposedly we are looking for new, innovative, and collaborative ways to do that. So I think this group's, the student and the Human Rights Commission, have had the ear of people when they do something that's so evidence-based, data-driven, and share the results and the graphs and the charts and the breakdowns. I think you guys are all in a position to make recommendations that would be taken seriously, even if it's not something they choose to implement. I would just add a tiny caveat on this survey. It has nothing to do with funding. It's not pitting any group against the other. It's identifying what groups might benefit from a little more outreach, targeted outreach, because they might not see it otherwise. But it doesn't result in any funding decisions whatsoever. It's more about, are we treating people, with a sense of inclusion and belonging and not discrimination? And you guys are the perfect people and the perfect commission to make recommendations based on your findings of the data once you tally it all.
Commissioner, I would love maybe if one of the students wanted to take that on as part of the delivering the results, perhaps you come and you share what this looks like in other cities. Because I'm new to the commission, but I haven't heard about that in other cities. So I'd be just curious to educate all of us on what that looks like. And if that is something that makes sense, and I'm just starting the conversation. I'm not against that. I think that would be good.
It would be awesome. Aspirational. Let's go for it.
I agree with Commissioner Shea. I think that would put some pressure on our city council, and if they were interested, I believe it would probably take a collaboration with the county, just based on how the REACH team has been implemented.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I think that was a very interesting question. I think a very interesting take that this class can take to make this survey their own. Every class has delivered the results in their own way, and summarized and provided recommendations their own. And perhaps this is the direction the class takes, is how can they utilize this survey to advocate for the city of Salem to declare discrimination a public health crisis, and what that would look like for the city of Salem to utilize it. So I would encourage you guys, as you guys think of some of these questions of has the city considered or would the city do it, is don't ask the question would the city do it, but put together a compelling argument utilizing this data, and then to force that conversation, even if nothing happens, at least bringing back something. So the question isn't starting with just kind of out of thin air, but it's starting with some very local evidence-backed data.
That's awesome. Well, I think that is a great way to wrap up tonight, to kind of have an aspirational, and students, you kind of have the path laid before you of lots of questions, priorities, things the commission is hoping to do, ways they've used the survey in the past, and really an opportunity to make this yours. Like this term, this class, what kinds of recommendations are you going to bring forward? And I love that the commission, you're saying, yeah, we're open to it, and bring us your ideas. So I will watch for an email around HST and REACH, and the students and I will be working on refining the questionnaire. Some pieces from last year will leave, but some pieces we will change, and we will certainly be in touch, looking for your partnership in getting the invitation out, and then we'll just go from there, finalize the questionnaire, get it out, close field, analyze, and present. So we'll just be in touch along the way. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Really appreciate, commissioners, your willingness to share and answer questions. Students, thanks for coming on. Commissioners, I think you're done for tonight, but students, you and I are going to take a minute stretch break and switch over to our class Zoom. So I will say goodnight to the commissioners, and students, I'll see you on the other Zoom. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
For so many questions, because it's a commission thing, do we need to submit them to you and then you pass them on?
Yeah.
Right. There are no other further comments or questions from commissioners. Seeing none, it is 8:31, the Human Rights Commission is adjourned.